Happy Saturday, everyone. Starting episode 2 here of the Boston Mandate, baseball sim and out of the park, baseball 27 of the Boston Red Sox. So, hope you guys have had a great week. Excited to have episode 2. This will be a pretty brief episode. Really just want to focus on some of the game settings that I've kind of leveraged from other YouTubers that I've seen, streamers that I've seen kind of use the game and in some of the settings they use, and I've kind of tweaked and kind of iterated a little bit from there. But just wanted to have a quick overview video of that component, as well as just a brief update on some of the front office changes that I've done. So let me focus there first and take a look at our front office and the personnel. So I actually did a little bit of Googling, and obviously, in the prior video, some of you that have viewed the episode noticed that obviously Breslow, with me coming in and kind of role playing as Breslow, also then had Breslow as the assistant GM. I Googled the front office staff as to who Boston has in that position, and it's Raquel Fiera. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but I do have her in there in that position. She's been in the organization for, I think, close to a decade, if not even longer. She's been there for the last few championships, and is one of the few females in that type of role in the major leagues, which is pretty cool. We have obviously Chad Tracy now in there as the manager, and Jose Flores as our bench coach. Pitching coach is Andrew Bailey. Hitting coach is Colin Hetzler. And I believe that when I made these changes, and I should have made notes on it because I did the updates a few days ago at this point. But I believe, obviously, Chad Tracy and I believe the hitting coach have come up from the AAA squad. The pitching coach remained from where the season started. And I can't remember if the base coaches, I think I did bring up Chad Epperson as well, or created that profile for one of those coaches as well. But I don't think I'll make any additional changes to the staff. For the positions in the AAA squad, I do have offers out to staff, if you will, or personnel that were available within the game. So I didn't create who they had or look to find that exact person that's currently in that role within the minor leagues. I really want to kind of be able to step in, and especially for those minor leagues and our focus on trying to develop some talent, as well as the focus on the major league squad to win a championship as quick as possible. I wanted to have the flexibility of being able to have a little bit of input and control over those roles. So the AAA, the AA team, and the other lower divisions of the organization, again, we may make some changes throughout the year because I do want to begin to soon get the right coaching staff of the team that I want to build in the future within there. Obviously, the sooner the earlier the better in that case of getting the right folks at the right spots that have the right coaching personalities and a staff cohesion that will hopefully achieve some results that we're looking for. So that's just a brief update on the staff. Again, obviously, we're role playing again as Breslow with really the mandate on him. He's been handed the keys. It's now his squad to lead, obviously the manager and other coaching staff kind of following that charge, that mandate from the organization. But let's dive into the game setting. So let's take a quick look at a few things. I don't believe I changed a lot. Oh, I did change a few things here that we can talk about. First thing, I put on the autosave to once a week. I think the default is once a month. I just wanted to save a little more frequently than that. Keeping storylines on, prospect rankings will be annually. The preseason predictions, I kept that as automatic. The scouting settings, kept that all as it was. We did move the rating scale to a 20/80, so that's a common rating scale. The game also allows for a star rating, 1 to 5 stars, but we're going to do the 20 to 80 with increments of 5. If somebody is above a max, we're going to allow that rating to appear as well. We will also use the coaching system. We can hire coaches from other orgs. And we have the owner goals on that we'll obviously dive into at some point in the future as well. I think that's pretty much it on this page, but obviously the biggest update here is just the 2080 scale, which I think most folks use within the organization or within streamers that I've noticed. Injuries are obviously on. Short injury, we're going to keep these most likely as it is. You can hide the injury rating. I like to keep that, just knowing, again, like if you think about it from a scouting perspective, if a player has an injury history, arm or leg or back issues that they've had, from their early 20s into their 30s, in a sense, like the organization, the scouting staff should be able to determine, is that person fragile? Are they normal injury, kind of proneness, or is it a wrecked kind of perspective? So I have the injury rating that we can have available. Player personality settings, I have that to be on, in that we obviously can see that on the profile page. So again, as the scouting team, the scouting director knows the players within the organization as well as doing scouting outside of our organization, the more they know the player, the more we can know about their personality traits and whether they'll be a fit for the organization that we're looking to build. So it's really kind of the loyalty, financial ambition, work ethic, kind of all of those things. We want to be able to see those on the profile page where possible if we know enough about the player. We'll use the player morale system, team chemistry we'll use as well, and we'll keep the player nicknames on, kind of a preference if you wish, but it's kind of neat to see the nicknames. So a couple of things I changed here. I think all of these were set to 1.0 as a default. Batter aging speed, I dropped that down just a hair. Batter development speed, I've increased that a bit so that batters will develop quicker than the default within the game. And we can see kind of just how that looks and feels. Pitcher aging speed, I've actually increased that. I think what we see in the league now is obviously pitchers would it's throw with everything you got every pitch. I think that's obviously increased the prevalence of arm injuries, back injuries, legs, like all of that, just that health component. It's what can you give from 25 to 33, maybe 35, 37 if you're lucky. But I really want to kind of focus, especially on the pitching end, that they develop a little bit quicker. So we see development of that pitcher earlier in their aging curve, if you will, but they're also going to tail off a little bit quicker. I think that's just probably what we're going to see in the league going forward. Obviously, again, there's a lot of work that can be done in the health staff, the training staff, but it's an arm attached to a hand that's throwing a baseball incredibly hard. So a couple of adjustments I've made there. We'll see how things look and feel in the game. I did also increase the talent change randomness. Again, I'm not 100% sure as to what that'll do within the game, but I wanted to have just a little more randomness, especially if I'm kind of keeping an eye out for what other YouTubers are doing. And if they're a couple years down the road and they give a name out for, hey, this player really took off in the sim, I don't want to be like, oh, let's just go target that player and I'll have the same result. Kind of like a little cheat code in a sense. Because if I have this being adjusted to have that talent change be a little more random, I might pick up that player, but their results in our sim may be a bit different. So I just kind of want that to be out there as well. Development target age and aging target range, I kept those as just the defaults, but again, our aging speed will adjust. So I'm not going to make any changes there at the moment. And I think we bumped this from 8 to 10. So our player development lab, which is available in the off season, will be quite a ways away from that at this point. But I bumped that up from 8 to 10. Face gen, no changes there. I'm not going to bring in the the faces of players. It takes a long time to load in that data. Difficulty, I'm going to keep it on the default. I think me not being a super deep pro in this game, I think with moving it to All-Star or Hall of Fame will be a bit too much of a challenge that I'm willing to chew off at this point. I'll keep it, again, on the majors at this point. I'm not going to toggle on the signing and trade limits. I think we'll keep that off for now. I think I did bump up the trading difficulty just a little bit, but I believe I kept the trading preference of veterans versus prospects alone, and we do have the reputation system on for the trading. I did adjust and I did recalculate this as well earlier. So I bumped up the ratings weight, and this is how really the AI for really other teams and probably even our own scout would evaluate players. So they're going to evaluate the ratings weight of the player 56% just on the raw numbers behind the game, like the numbers of the player, of the BABIP, the power, the eye, the contact potential. Pitchers, obviously their stuff, the control, the movement, all of those good things, as well as their arsenal of pitches. So I believe that was initially at 60. I bumped that down a little bit, and then I bumped up the current year stats weight a few points, as well as the previous year stats, because I wanted to also look at not only what they believe the player is now and what their potential is, but also a little bit about the stats. How have they produced on the field? Because some of it is, you can play a little bit out of your shoes. Again, you might come back over time to the ratings, your legit skill set, if you wish. But I did adjust those a little bit to have a little more focus on the stats, because again, this game is heavily stat focused. And then I adjusted, obviously, the lineup. You can have it be traditional or splits favored. I think, again, what you see in the league today is very heavily sabermetric, very splits favored, righty-lefty matchup kind of components. So a few updates there. Nothing crazy on the almanac, no changes there. Database did not touch. League settings, nothing on that first page. Leagues and teams, no changes here. We'll keep it just as is. Rules, we obviously have the DH everywhere. I did adjust the reliever minimum in the major leagues today. It's 3, primarily probably for a pace of game perspective, but I've adjusted that to 1. I just think it's a little more, especially once you get to the postseason, I think it's a little more interesting where you can have that matchup focus. Bring in your key lefty to get one lefty out, maybe 2, and then you pull them to bring in another reliever. So I like that kind of matchup perspective. Active roster size is 26, secondary 40, expanded is 28. No major changes there. And I don't believe anything else was adjusted on this page. I do allow the trading of injured players. Again, probably not super common for somebody to be traded if they got a 6-8 month arm injury or something of that sort. But I think we'll allow it just to see if it adds in a wrinkle. At AI trading frequency, we'll keep that as average. I think that's a good place to start. We'll see if we should adjust that at some point, but nothing crazy there. Financials, did not touch a lot here. Yearly inflation, didn't adjust anything. I'm taking a look at what's there now. I think this is relatively fair. It's something, obviously, depending on your pace of how you play the game, to jump, if you kind of quickly run through years, to kind of factor that into your contract prices, and just remember that there's going to be an inflation factor there. But everything else is relatively straightforward here. I did adjust some of the names of these awards, so obviously brought in like the Mariano Rivera Reliever of the Year Award, Rookie of the Year, Silver Slugger, Gold Glove, and the Manager of the Year. So adjusted some of those names of the awards just to keep it a little more common to the traditional baseball game. And I disabled the automatic evolution of the league. So again, what I think that'll do is if there's any adjustments to the number of teams, or if there is going to be another team introduced in a division and a league, national or American, it's going to be up to us to create the expansion team, as opposed to the game just gets to a certain point and realizes, hey, let's have a new team introduced in the major leagues. So we're just going to kind of keep it as it is today. No changes here in the players. Again, you can adjust a few things as where players will come from the amateur draft as well as just default player origin. So there's a few things where you can kind of tweak, how much are coming from the Dominican Republic or Cuba or Japan, Canada, all of those kind of places where there's typically a lot of just natural homegrown talent. So kind of just keeping it as it is today. And you can do that same thing from the amateur draft pool as well. You can kind of adjust where a lot of those players are coming from. Stats, I believe everything here is pretty standardized. I don't believe I changed anything too crazy here. I'm just taking a look at what we have for the stats. I did adjust the stealing bases from normal to often. Again, I think what we see in the league is, that's happening a little bit more now in the game, to have just a little more of a nice pace to it and really take advantage of the athletes that are on the field. So I bumped that up. And I also bumped up the catcher framing impact. I do believe that was at a 5 or a 6 or somewhere in there. I'm bumping it up to high. I'm not going to go, extreme or very high in the 9 range, but I'm going to keep it at 8. And the reason for that I want to have is kind of almost in a sense, maybe even more so, kind of pulling in a little bit of the ABS component, but in some sense it's kind of removing that, because I really wanted to have a good defensive catcher. So one that's got a good arm, one that obviously is just a good battery mate for the pitchers, but one that can frame a pitch really well. Because if you can make it look like a strike to the ump, now again, the umpire is behind them, so how much can they really see the glove in a sense? But where they can, again, frame that pitch and do that well, I want that to be an advantage within the league, to be a benefit for the pitcher. So whether that's kind of anti-ABS or kind of even kind of bringing it more to maybe where it's kind of in alignment with how the ABS system works, but really that's more of just, hey, this is a box, it's just a box, and if it's a strike, it's going to hit the box. If it's a ball, it's not. But we're not, obviously this game doesn't have that built into where you can kind of have just a standardized catching, like there's no catcher component to it. I mean, I guess you could turn it down to nothing, and then it's just the AI kind of calling balls and strikes as is. But I want that catcher framing impact to have a component for the way I want the sim to run. So I did bump that up. Nothing else I think here was really adjusted. So that's kind of where we're at, again, for just the settings of the game that we're going to leverage and use for this. I'm very excited to kind of dive into it. We'll probably kind of pause the episode here. The next episode will really be a focus on the organization. I really want to go meet the team, see where we're at. Obviously, we're over a week now, about a week, I guess, behind the real life Red Sox. I'm actually got them on MLB audio in the background. I believe they're up 2-1 right now. They're playing the Guardians this weekend on the weekend of May 30th. But again, I just want to kind of run through the staff we got, pitching, go through the entire roster. I am going to probably show you guys, I'll just show you guys what it looks like now with Sonny Gray on the bump. But as you can see, here's the stats that are kind of showcased currently. I'm going to make a few adjustments to some of the stats that show on different pages and such. I want to get that built into this game and saved. Show you what those look like, as well as just a deep dive of our team, and we'll go from there. But I'm very excited to start. I think this will be a lot of fun as we dive into things, and just excited to keep the momentum going with the series, and excited for all of you to tune in and keep an eye on things as they progress in the next few episodes. But appreciate you all hopping in, just taking a look at a few things that we made from adjustments from a personnel perspective. Obviously, we got a couple offers out there for the pitching coach and the hitting coach and the manager that we brought up to the big leagues, and then we'll kind of progress forward from there. But hope you all are doing well, and we'll chat soon.